All right, today we're going to get into something really cool. It's a classical Korean poem. It's short, it's beautiful, but it's also kind of mysterious. On the surface, it looks pretty straightforward, but trust me, it's hiding a secret. A secret that tells us something profound about what's really important in life. So right off the bat, we're hit with a puzzle, one that's had people scratching their heads for centuries. Think about it, a plum blossom. You know, that symbol of spring, of life, of all this vibrant beauty. And the poem says it's wearing a black robe. That's weird, right? It's a totally contradictory image. So what's going on here? To figure this out, we've got to go straight to the source. And here it is. Look at that. Just 4 lines, 20 characters. The man behind it, Jeong Do-jeon. Now this guy was a major player, a brilliant and, yeah, pretty controversial scholar who helped build Korea's entire Joseon dynasty. His life was a roller coaster, full of ups and downs, and you're about to see how all of that drama is packed right into this little poem. So let's do this. We're going to crack it open, line by line, character by character. Okay, first up, we're tackling the first couplet, the first 2 lines. These lines really set a powerful, kind of somber scene. This is where we start our detective work, digging into the actual building blocks of the poem. So the very first line reads,久別一相見. And to really get what this means, we're going to take it apart piece by piece. Honestly, this is the best way to see just how deep this language can be. Okay, let's look at the pieces here. First, you've got gu, which means a long time. Then byol, meaning to separate. Put them together, gubyol, and you get a long separation. Simple enough, right? Then we have il for one, sung for mutually, and gyeon, which means to meet. So when you assemble the whole thing, you get, after a long separation, we meet once. Wow. Right away, you can feel it. It's a reunion, for sure, but there's this heavy, melancholic vibe to it. All right, and that leads us straight into the second line. And this is it, folks, the heart of the whole mystery.楚楚着緇衣. This is where we get that bizarre image of the black robe. Now, that first word, cho-cho, is super important. It's not just sad, it's this really evocative word for being sorrowful, almost like grieving. Then chak means to wear, and chi-ue, that's a very specific term for a black robe, the kind a monk might wear. So the line translates to, sorrowfully, it wears a black robe. See? That reunion we just talked about is soaked in sadness, and whatever we're looking at is basically dressed for a funeral. But why? Well, hang on, because the next 2 lines start dropping some major clues. Okay, we're moving on to the second half, the second couplet, and this is where things take a turn. We're shifting from just describing a scene to some pretty deep philosophy. The poet is basically telling us, okay, here's how you're supposed to look at this sad black-robed flower. He's giving us the instruction manual for seeing its true nature. All right, line 3, 단지 풍미. And you'll want to pay close attention here, because this line introduces a concept that is absolutely crucial to the entire poem's meaning. So the first part, 단지, means only know. The last character, che, means to exist. But the real star of the show here is the term in the middle, 풍미. Now, literally, it can mean flavor, like the flavor of food. But in this context, it's so much deeper. It's talking about someone's inner character, their essence, what they're really made of, their true worth. So what the poet is saying is, I only know its inner character remains. He's completely looking past the weird exterior to find something more real, more fundamental. And that brings us to the final line, which is basically the other side of that coin. 매일문 영한 비유. If the last line was all about inner character, this one is the counterpoint. Check this out. Mukmae is a command. It means do not ask, or don't you dare question. And what shouldn't we question? Well, the key term here is yeonggan. That means outward appearance, the face you show the world. And be means to be not or untrue. So the whole line is this piece of advice. Do not question that its appearance isn't true to life. The poet is literally telling us, hey, ignore the fact that this thing doesn't look like a real plum blossom. And that is the final clue we need for the big reveal. Okay, time for the payoff. We've decoded the language, we've gotten a handle on the philosophy. Now we can finally put all the pieces together and solve this thing. So let's ask it one last time. What in the world are these sorrowful black clothes the plum blossom is wearing? Turns out, the answer was hiding in plain sight, in a little note left by the author himself. This little note was found in Jeong Do-jeon's collected works, the Sambong-jeep, and it says, basically, by the way, this poem is about an ink painting of a plum blossom. And just like that, Boom. Everything makes sense. The poet isn't standing in a garden looking at a real flower. He's looking at a painting, a monochrome black and white ink painting. And suddenly it all just clicks, right? The black robe, that's the black ink on the white paper. The painting is sorrowful because, well, it doesn't have the vibrant colors of a real flower. It has given up its outward appearance, its yonggon, but by doing that, it's managed to capture something way more permanent, something more enduring, the essential spirit, the inner character, the Mukmae of the plum blossom. The fleeting, superficial beauty is gone, but what's left is its timeless essence. So, now that we've cracked the code, we can see this poem for what it really is. It's not just a clever observation about a painting. No, it's a deeply personal and powerful statement about the author's own life and what he believed in. I mean, Jeong Do-jeon's life was intense. We're talking a total roller coaster. He saw the highest highs of political power and the lowest lows of crushing failure. He was exiled, he became incredibly powerful, and in the end, he was assassinated. When your life is that chaotic, you have to find something to hold on to, something that doesn't change. And this poem? It's the reflection of a man who learned the hard way to value his own inner convictions way more than any external status. So this is the core conflict of the whole poem, laid bare. It's a showdown. In one corner, you have Pungmi. That's your inner character, your true worth, the principles you live by. And in the other corner, you have Yonggan. That's all the external stuff, your appearance, your social status, all that superficial beauty. And Jeong Do-jeon is clearly picking a side. He's arguing that real value isn't found in the fancy, colorful robes of a high office or fame, but in the simple black and white integrity of what you truly believe. And so, in the end, that ink-painted blossom becomes a symbol for the ideal scholar. It's someone who has thrown away all the worldly glamour, all the color, all the flash, just to exist in their purest, most essential form. It represents a life that's not dedicated to how you look, but to what you are. A life of substance and a life of truth. You know, one of the sources we looked at sums it up perfectly. It calls the poem a philosophical confession, and that's exactly what it is. It's about finding that kind of inner peace you can only get when you stop chasing likes, when you stop caring about what other people think, when you stop worrying if your appearance is true to life, and instead just focus on building your inner character. And that's the thing. This poem is, over 600 years old? But it leaves us with a question that feels like it was written for today. In our world, a world that is completely obsessed with appearances, with status, with curating the perfect online image, what's your Pungmi? What's your inner flavor? What's that essential, unchanging part of you that's left when all the filters come off and all the color fades away?